Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna be painting with watercolors, and by the way, I'm sorry I can't speak very loud because I'm just getting out of being sick, so still a bit tired and my voice is still a bit tired too. So what I'm gonna be doing, and what you see here actually, is some studies I've made based on photos I've taken summer last year when I was in the Dolomites in Italy. So this is just a first little sketch, and here you can see more, like it's the final result, but another attempt. And for this one, I really tried to stick to 3 colors. So all of this was done with 3 colors: permanent rose, ultramarine, and cadmium yellow pale hue. All are Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors. And I really like how it looks like. I like that the colors are not super realistic and that there are some kind of artist choices there, and that all the colors are very coherent together. So I really like how it looks, and I want to do something a little bit like this here. So I start first with a small one and then move on to a bigger one so that I can learn to get my subject and just work a little bit on the shapes and understand how I want to approach the subject first, and then here I can put this into action. So I'm gonna be using my big palette, and what I've done also is this cool stuff. So here you have all my swatches of all the colors that are here, and here you have all the color names and their transparency, their permanency, if they are permanent or not, and all this stuff. So it's super useful when you're choosing colors. And I'm gonna choose 3 colors, more like a blue, a yellow, and a kind of red, and I want to find ones that are single pigments. Maybe I will have some fun with Purple Lake. Purple Lake is this one. I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna use it as a red or as a blue, but let's see. But that could be fun, like Purple Lake. I'm just gonna go for unusual colors. So maybe Purple Lake, Cerulean, and lemon yellow? Let's see what we can get with that. So first I'm going to see which colors I can get with the 3 colors and see if it sounds like a fun mix or not. And these colors have nothing to do with what I'm painting, so let's see then how I can use them. Okay, so let's actually start with this mix, and let's start to block out some shapes. So I'm going directly with my watercolors, not using any sketch or anything. And usually I don't have any plan when I'm starting. I'm just trying to see what's gonna happen, which is not necessarily a good idea, you know, if you want to have really nice results. But I find it more interesting, and I'm having way more fun this way, so that's what I'm doing. So I have a reference picture, but I'm not trying to do exactly what's on the reference picture. Usually on the first little one that I'm doing, closer to the composition of my picture, but very loose because I'm only using a flat large brush. Large, I mean it's a size 8, but for the size of the painting it's very large. So I'm just throwing colors and see what happens. And when it comes to choosing where I put what color, what I try to do when I work with such a limited palette is to try to keep it coherent, meaning that one type of object will always be the same main color, even if then I put some shadows and stuff. But I try not to use too many different colors for the same thing, because as the colors are not exactly the same color as the real ones, it can then be very hard to understand what is actually happening. I love painting the sky with this brush because it just makes something so smooth and so clean. Like just like here, it's so nice, I feel. I'm simplifying quite a lot the mountains on the background because there are actually several layers of mountains in forest and stuff, and especially with this size of painting it can be really hard to render this all, so I'm trying to simplify it as much as I can without losing the idea of what is happening. I feel like this green is so powerful. I don't know exactly how to make it fit because it's really not muted, so it brings a lot of focus on whatever I'm painting with it. I think I'm just gonna put a layer of this one and then go on top with more muted colors, putting a little bit of the purple lake on top. Because I need to add some depth to this forest, because for now it's a very bright forest, but it doesn't have a lot of highlights, so it needs some more shadowy parts. So what I find really difficult is to render these rocks that were everywhere along the path, because they were super pale actually, and they are kind of the palest thing on my photograph. So I really need to think on how to work with the shadows to show them, and what type of shadows do I need. So here I'm just adding a little bit of yellow to the places that have direct sunlight, to make it a little bit easier to read the whole thing. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave this one as it is now. It's clearly not the best one I've ever done, but well, you need to start somewhere, and it's pretty hard actually to do something that makes sense with the limitation that I've given myself. So for the bigger ones, there are a few places I want to rework. First, I want to be a little more cautious on my shadows, and here I've used a lot of mixes, so 2 or 3 colors mixed, but not that much the colors on their own. And I think some of them, it would have been nice to have some of the places with just blue or just yellow or just this purple lake. And this, I think, would have needs more work and more definition. And this place here too. This place is quite okay. This turned out pretty nice. I don't know exactly how. The pathway, I kind of like this very light kind of purple rose, and then a little bit of blue and on the shadows, and a little bit of yellow on the highlights that I like. Maybe I will try something like that for the stones too. So let's see. Let's just move on to the bigger one and see how we can improve it. That the colors are funny. Not the easiest color to work with, but you know, you need to push yourself sometimes. That's how you learn. So as you can see, I'm not working exactly the same way here. I'm moving from the background to the foreground. What is really hard with watercolors is that it's not an opaque medium, so if you go too heavy with your background, you won't be able, and you don't leave space for your foreground, you won't be able to put your foreground on top of it. But at the same time, if you work from the foreground to the background, it can be really hard to make a background that makes sense, because you have already so many stuff on top of it. So I'm still trying to find how I like to work with watercolors. It really depends on the type of landscapes I'm doing. On the more complex landscapes, I'm struggling more to find how to work them. And as you can see, I'm working very much dry on dry, actually. So I'm not using the very wet part of the watercolor and all those effects that you can get with very wet paint. And I don't know, lately I've been very much into using more of a dry technique for watercolors. These days I very much like to put bigger blobs of colors and just work on the bigger shapes and more on the experiment with colors, and I don't know, try to work with the feeling that comes out of the pieces more than on the actual details of the pieces. So that's just something I've been experimenting lately, and it will probably change at some point. Okay, so now I have more or less everything in place, and I can start to work a little bit more on the colors and the details of the different grounds of the painting, and put some more texture and experiment and have some fun. So I don't know if you noticed, but I paid closer attention to not the perspective, but the layout, the composition of my painting this time, because in the first one, like I said, this part was very unclear and I wanted to have more of a perspective and to understand better the path and where it was going and stuff. So I worked a little bit more on that on this one. Hope it shows. So that's why I took more my time to work on the forest especially, and to have it really where I want it to be. And also I paid a little closer attention to the shadows this time, to give this sense of depth. So especially on the forest, I try to position my darks a little more carefully or purposefully. Like not only putting colors because I had this color on my pencil, on my brush, but because it made sense to put this color there. What I usually try to do with my background is to have them less detailed and with less contrast so that it pushes them in the distance. But still, I want a little bit of contrast to happen there so that you can understand what you're looking at. And for now, I actually prefer how the mountains looked like on my first attempt rather than the second. But you know, you live and learn. The path was full of rocks, and what I'm trying to do is to put the moss around the rocks, have it kind of lay down, and to use it to show the actual shape of the rocks. I'm gonna come with a purple that leans more towards the blue and put the shadows of the rocks to define them even more. Okay, so now I'm gonna use pure blue on the path to start show the shadowy parts. Okay, now I'm gonna use pure yellow to show the place where the sun is hitting directly the path. And I'm gonna do the same on the rock. Actually very hard to do this big rock. I'm planning on taking a sculpture class on how to render rocks, because there are so many when you're hiking and they're super cool, but they're so hard to recreate. Okay, so I think I'm gonna move on to a smaller brush now to continue working a little bit on this one. For now it's not really looking like I want it to look like, but let's see what we can do. So here I'm using a round brush because you can have much more control. I mean, I have much more control on where I'm putting the paint with this kind of brush. And I can make more variety of forms. Here I'm putting a little bit of dry brush texture on the pathway. And now let's work a little bit more on this guy here. This one is so frustrating because I really want it to look nice, but I don't know exactly how to not overwork it and how to actually have a nice result. So I'm gonna try again and we'll see how it goes. Well, something like that, I guess. I think I'm gonna call this one done. Definitely still a lot to learn on how to make rocks look like rocks. But it was fun to try it out here and try it out with this fun colors, even if it actually made it even more difficult to do something. But yeah, definitely a fun one. I hope it inspired you to take your brush and try something. As always, I have a hard time stopping, even when I said that I'm calling this done. So yeah, as always, you can, if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe and turn the notification on, and like this video, of course. Give it a thumb up, and I'll try to post a new video next week, probably again a landscape, but let me know if you would like to see me do something else or try something new. And in the meantime, have a nice and lovely week, and see you in my next video. Bye!